Welcome to my channel. Hi, my name is Shirvin and I'm a licensed therapist, and after so many years of thinking about posting a video, I finally did it. And today I wanted to go over the 3 ways I overcame my fear in posting my first video. I used to tell myself no one would care about what I had to say because I didn't have the credentials or the titles or the education to back it up. Even now, with a graduate degree and being a licensed therapist, there are still times that I've doubted myself. I wondered who is going to care about what I have to say, or what if I offend someone? What if I get something wrong? It's definitely a lot easier to make up a list of reasons of why I shouldn't do something or why I shouldn't post videos. Lately, I realized maybe because as I've gotten older, I've cared a lot less about trying to please everyone. And instead, I'm thinking back to those moments where I did have great ideas, or I had a lot of drive and passion wanting to post videos, and the only person really who stopped me from doing any of it is myself. The moment I realized that I gotta do this for me, I can't please everybody, and that's okay. I think there's a lot of peace in knowing that you can't do that. You can't please everyone, so you end up focusing on yourself, what you want to do, what your goals are, and what your dreams are. The list of reasons that I would tell myself to not post would be things like I'm not pretty enough, or smart enough, or interesting enough, or I can't film, I can't edit. While I can't necessarily change the way I might appear or look, I can learn things like editing. And it's exactly like I tell my clients. We're usually not good at something because we haven't had enough practice. And I'm just getting started with learning how to film myself. Even doing this video has taken me a lot of takes because it is awkward to sit in front of the camera, to talk, and to not feel uncomfortable. It's something I didn't like to do at first, just sitting in front of the camera, which is why I started an audio podcast. I told myself I have to get used to it, I have to practice, and that's okay. It's not going to be perfect. I also realized that as a counselor, I have this internal pressure to say things right the first time. And when I'm sitting in front of the camera, I realize that there are chances where I can take retakes and second takes. But what ended up happening was retaking everything until it sounds like how I want to in the one shot. I'm trying to embrace the fact that if I need to redo, if I need to edit the clip, if I need to cut some things out, that's okay. It's honestly going to make me a lot more human to show that I'm not perfect in the way I speak or the way I think. This is just a journey that I'm also getting to document. I've also acknowledged that everyone's going to have a different opinion, and that's perfectly normal because everyone has different experiences and different perspectives they see the world in. You might not agree with some of the things I say, and what I want you to keep in mind is take with you what sticks and leave behind what doesn't. We're all different people with different thoughts and feelings, upbringings, environment, but we could all learn a little bit of something from each other. Someone told me that I can't compare my first video or even my first few or first 10 videos with someone else's 100 or 200th video. And that has really stuck with me. It reminds me of every time I'm trying to learn something new. I'm usually looking up YouTube videos or examples of someone who's either really good at it or a professional, and you want to learn from someone who's good. And that's why I find that watching reels or shorts can be a little bit misleading at times and can leave you feeling discouraged. They're edited in a way where you only see within the 60 seconds or so of the clip a whole year of progress. We miss a lot of the behind the scenes and the hours of practice. For me, when it comes to brush lettering, a skill that I was picking up a few years ago, I would be looking at these YouTube tutorials with people who have the most beautiful writing, and I'm thinking, I could do that. So I go and practice on paper and it looks absolutely horrendous. It is discouraging at times when that happens. But it's slowing down and recognizing that, okay, hold on. That person's been doing it for a while. We all start somewhere, and we need to give ourselves a chance to grow. And instead of seeing that as a way to feel discouraged, I try to now see these examples, these different accounts, the professionals, as a source of inspiration. When I see people's growth as learning opportunities and inspiration rather than feeling discouraged about it, it's definitely changed the way I think about my own work. And it's a way of thinking I've adopted over time. A few years ago, I stopped using Instagram, my personal Instagram, and of course, it really increased and greatly improved my mental health. I stopped having FOMO. I really learned what it meant to celebrate my highlights and my successes and get that internal validation without needing the external validation or people to compliment me to make myself feel better. Obviously, it's still nice to hear, and who wouldn't want to hear that? It's hard for us to sometimes trust our own voices, but when we see it or hear it from others, we always take that more seriously than our own voices. When I started my therapy account, I did go back on Instagram, and I'm a lot more careful with how I use it. I noticed that I unfollowed a lot of celebrities or influencers unless I truly enjoyed their content or cause they were supporting. And even with my own friends and family, I'm not constantly looking at posts or stories and then having FOMO. But instead, just the way I approach social media, being more intentional about how I use it, the amount of time I spend on it has changed how I see my own work. So I'm not really comparing myself with others and feeling badly about it, but instead seeing other people's work and growth as opportunities for me to continue to grow what I'm doing. And that shift in my mindset has really helped me enjoy the process more. Because at the end of the day, I am a therapist, I'm a human, I love video games, I play sports. I am not an editor, I am not a filmmaker, and even if you are, you're still a human. We are all growing and learning together. And having that shift in the mindset to enjoy the process will make a huge difference in how your work will end up showing up. It's going to feel more authentic. It's you being true to yourself. And if you're spending so much time and effort on it, you might as well try to enjoy it. It's also helped me to track my progress. You could do this by taking pictures or having a tracker like on Notion or in a journal. It's a helpful way for you to see yourself grow. Otherwise, each milestone that you take, you're going to tell yourself that it's something you should be at, somewhere you should be getting to. And you don't get the chance to see how you've grown over the years. For me, when I flip back in my art book with my brush lettering and I see the very front pages, I'm really in awe on how much I've grown with my skills in brush lettering. I've explained to my clients that therapy is like watching paint dry on the wall or watching your hair grow. It can feel so painfully slow and long, and it's not something that's overnight where you wake up and you're like, oh my god, my hair grew by part of a centimeter, or I see that the wall is 10% dry. It's hard to just have that quantifiable number. And that's why tracking our progress, taking pictures, writing it down, reflecting is a helpful way for us to see where we are now versus where we were before. That way, you're not just going through the motions, you're able to be a lot more intentional about how you're spending your time and how you're spending your energy. Which leads me to my last point about embracing the good enough. My podcast and my Instagram are really great concrete examples of my growth. And that's because they are things that I have published, they are things that have been documented as an indication of how far I've come. And that goes hand in hand with the idea that perfectionism is subjective. It's going to change every single day depending on what new experiences you've had or new ideas or something maybe you came across online and you're thinking, okay, I want to try this style or I like this kind of aesthetic. I stopped thinking about how I didn't know how to edit videos, which, I'm not that good at, but I'm going to learn, I'm going to try, I'm going to watch tutorials. And when I started enjoying the process of learning and seeing how my editing has progressed with each podcast, with each therapy Instagram post, I really started to get this rush of like, oh my gosh, it's getting better each time. And going back to my therapy Instagram, oh my goodness. When I look back at the posts I made 2 years ago, I'm just thinking, what was I thinking? what are those colors I picked? What's that aesthetic? And don't get me the wrong way, it's not a bad thing. It's just that my aesthetic has changed over the years. What colors I like to use have changed over the years. I've taken a look at other accounts that I like, and I'm trying to see what elements I want to include in my own posts. Going back to the idea of how perfectionism is subjective, when I made those first initial posts, I remember telling myself, these are the best things ever. And I spent hours and hours curating all those posts and the elements and the design. And at the time, they truly did feel like they were perfect to me. But obviously, about 2 years later, it's not going to feel the same way because I've changed as a person. Hi!
I decided to add in the next clip because it was the first time I truly sat down in front of the camera to try to record and to talk. And it was just not it. But I learned to have a script ready, learn to pay attention to the lighting, learn to realize that it's okay to take multiple clips. But there's also a funny blooper, and I just thought I'd show in a span of a few days what I've learned and how I've grown to film and post the video that I have today.
Oh my god, there's a spider. Okay, that was wild. I had to ask another therapist to come in and help me with that. I just don't like spiders. Anyways. This is why I try to do things in one take.
I did a podcast for so long. Because now I'm just all over the place. Ever seen that spider? It was crawling at the speed of light. Okay, not big, but it was kind of big.
Back to the regular programming. If you have been scared about trying something new, I really challenge you to come along with me in this journey of me making videos, of me trying something new, being uncomfortable and vulnerable to sit in front of a camera and just yapping away. We're in it together, and there's no way of improving or practicing or getting better unless we give ourselves the chance and a shot to do it. It's not about wasting time trying, but rather you're getting information about what works and what doesn't. In my last video, I forgot about filming in 4K. I forgot to think about lighting, the angles, or if it's crooked or not. And honestly, my hair was day 3 hair. There was no makeup on. Not that I wear a lot anyways. And I'm really proud of that video because I just picked up the camera and I said, while it's not perfect or cinematic quality, it's still something I'm proud of. And I think that's what's more important, to do something that you're proud of, even if it's not necessarily perfect. I'm excited to see where I go with this channel and how I'll grow over time. Comment below about something that you're wanting to try. A little bit of accountability can go a long way. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time. Bye!